You are comfortably zoned with the Zigzag Man in Alameda, California, pushing on the doors of life marked pull and fighting the Unholy Trinity as we go. Big business, organized religion, and government.
I can't believe the things I'm seeing. I wonder about some things I've heard. Everybody find mercy when they don't know the meaning of.
No, they do not know the meaning of the word, but you certainly do. You're comfortably zoned with the Zigzag Man. 420 Studios, Alameda, California. I'm with my buddy, Brother Scott. How you doing, Brother Scott?
Hey.
And we are pretty much reviewing the East Bay music scene lately. Been getting a lot of music, and we discovered two sisters. We didn't discover them per se, but we've come across two wonderful sisters they're from Susanville, California. They're the Allegre Sisters. And they, what do they play? The ukulele, am I right?
There's a little bit of keyboard as well.
Okay, and they're terrific together. We've got a disc of both of theirs individually. So I'm going to start you off with Lauren Allegro from her CD Stella, Keeping My Light On. You're going to dig this. So give it a listen.
I keep my light on so you can see me here. I don't cry, don't run out the door, no, I just wait for you here. You bide your time, love. You don't cry, don't run out the door. You just wait for me here.
Whoa, whoa, very, very heavy stuff. And like I say, these young women are both from Susanville. They have established themselves in the Sacramento area. And her sister is Carolyn Joe. And I mispronounced their name. It's Allegra, not Allegro. And I'll give you a little Carolyn Joe, and if you can tell them apart either on stage or by voice, you're more of a music aficionado than I am. They are charming individually, on stage together. Give a listen to Carolyn Joe.
Noticed you so many months before we spoke. Though you seemed an ordinary bloke, I was stricken by a uniqueness, anticipated happiness, and when you reached I jumped into your hands. But now the writing on the wall is all that you see. It ain't made as plain as day to me. Your loyalty is spread too thin, so I know I can never win now. Don't play me, just be straight with me. You ain't doing me no favors, tiptoeing around it, tiptoeing around it. No, baby, you ain't doing me no favors, tiptoeing around it, tiptoeing around it. No. Baby, we could walk together. We could wander alone. You could look down on me from your pedestal, glass as you go, stones. Ooh, ba-da-ba, ba-da-ba-ba. Be-ba-be-da-bo-bo-ba, be-ba-be-da-bo. Oh, ba-da-ba, ba-da-ba-ba. Be-ba-be-da-bo. We could talk to each other like civilized folk, or we could bark like dogs. You could pull my leash a little tighter. I'll probably keep dragging along, just dragging along. La-da-da-da-da-da-ba-ba. Be-ba-be-da-bo-bo-ba. Be-ba-be-da-bo. Ooh, ba-da-ba, ba-da-ba-ba. Be-ba-be-da-bo. We could pretend it's love we're making when it's clearly just a mess. You could examine my frustration and label it confused happiness. Happiness. Ba-da-ba-ba. Be-ba-be-da-bo-ba-ba. Be-ba-be-da-bo. Oh, ba-da-ba, ba-da-ba-ba.
Pretty good, pretty good. Proud to be able to bring you that and introduce a little music to the Comfortably Zoned show. It's our first Sunday night back in a long time. We got a full show going. And Scott, how you doing?
Just chilling.
Just chilling. Way to go, man. That's who we're about. Just chilling and hanging. Good show for you, so please stick around. We're going to start off with just a delightful woman. That's all I can tell you. It's Rebecca Ward Kennedy. She's coming up. So, talk soon. Over and out.
I am back, comfortably zoned in Alameda, California at the 420 Studios, down by the lagoon, and I'm bi-coastal today with a friend of the show. You've been on 3-4 times now, Barb, and you add to it. You were an actress in your day, you were a mother, still are, you're a grandmother, and you're my friend, and a supportive one.
That's the best part.
Yeah, that's the absolute best part. And Barbara Burton Stewart, how are you, dear?
I'm doing fine. Actually got into the pool today a little bit.
Oh, really? It's
beautiful
warming up.
Yeah. It was in the upper 80s and sunny and not a cloud in the sky, and it's just beautiful. Tomorrow it's supposed to pour all day, so I said, let me get it in now.
Good. And you're healthy and... You're healthy.
Not good, as well as can be expected.
All right, good. Our mutual friend on Facebook and my dear sister-in-law emeritus, Debbie Kirschbaum Slay, passed away this past week, and I've been kind of talking about her a little bit and how I'm almost relieved. She has suffered so from the effects of the medication to treat her cancer, both her brain cancer and her lung cancer, that the quality of her life has been so horrible for the past 8 months. And she came so close to making it. Her brain cancer cleared up, and it turns out the lung cancer ends up getting her. And I'm strangely relieved that not strangely, incredibly relieved that she's not having any more suffering.
That's
true.
And
it's almost an exhilarating feeling after all these months of in and out of hospice and radiation and chemotherapy and
rehab. I met her in rehab.
Right. And she had already suffered a secondary infection going into the hospital that further debilitated her and further fucked up her quality of life. And, so I'm appreciative of your support and that and other years. We're both Kitty City Camp alum. And there's something about our spirit that, not just you and I, the spirit of all those campers that attended, that is, and a connect that's incredible. If you haven't never attended a summer camp for a long period of time, year after year with the same folks, you wouldn't appreciate what we have and how. I'm appreciative of Facebook for bringing us all together on this reunion site, as well as a neighborhood reunion site for where I grew up in Jackson Heights. I know you have one in Brooklyn.
Yeah, we have a couple of them actually. We have an Avenue. We have a Midwood. We have an Avenue J, and we have a PS 99.
Oh wow! So basically, Midwood was your high school. Avenue J.
Midwood was my high school, but it was also an area. So not everybody on the Midwood site went to Midwood High School.
Right. It is just a section like Jackson Heights is a section.
Right. Right.
What is this?
Although, if I were writing to you, I would write Jackson Heights, New York. If you were writing to me, you'd just write Brooklyn, New York.
Okay.
Wouldn't I write Jackson Heights as opposed to Queens?
Yeah, it was absolutely, and for a while there, they were billing it as East Elmhurst. The Jackson Heights people turned into East Elmhurst people. It was one side of the street or the other, and then I think the main post office is in Flushing, New York now. So people get their mail in strange, different ways, and post office always manages to delay it a few days or put it off.
Yeah, and eventually find you.
And then eventually somebody finds you. We had, in our building, we had the same mailman for all the years that I was there. His name was Arthur, and he wore these very, very big, thick glasses. And he just would put the mail, and it was the building had all kinds of mailboxes downstairs. He'd always manage to mess it up. So when the mail came, people would take elevator rides to different apartments. Oh, this was in my mailbox. This was in your mailbox. This was here. And I thought it was great for the socialization of the building.
Well, my mailman was Irving, and Irving, I was in a private house, and Irving would, it was a corner house. It was a pretty big house. And Irving would come up the stairs and open the door and come in and put it on the table in the foyer until we got a German Shepherd. That would stop Irving. A German Shepherd would stop a man named Irving in his tracks. Which brings me to dogs a little bit. You've had German Shepherds, you've had Pit Bulls, and I had one of my favorite dogs, not my favorite of all time, was Cinnamon, a red Doberman Pinscher, who was just a lady and so mellow and so laid back, and how the breed of dogs, you can't judge a book by its cover. And Cinnamon, I get so angry at people mischaracterizing when what are they called? The little yappy dogs, not chihuahuas, Cocker Spaniels. They'll bite you faster than a pit bull. I mean, I had Pookie, and when I had to put her down, which was not an easy choice, and she was like 13 and a half, and the vet said to me, "You'll never find another dog like this one." And I've had pretty good dogs and never found another one like Pookie. Yeah, the vet can tell a good mellow dog, right? Yeah, she was my son's friend when he was an only child, for starters, and then when we moved to Georgia and he got sick and he missed a lot of school, she was his friend. Nice. And in California they have care dogs now that I don't know how much they're not seeing eye dogs necessarily, but they're I know. But they're getting their certification, but a lot of them are just buying a certification. But I mean, like my sister would travel with her late dog now, but say, she needs him to travel with her so she could get him on the plane. But now they're getting a little stricter, and they have to be really certified. They can't just say, But I have 3, and I don't have my tiny one is 50-something pounds. So for me to get on a plane with 3 of them, it would be right. That couldn't happen. Do they still stow dogs in kennel-like situations? Underneath, you mean? In the plane? Right. Or is that just not done? Right. Well, I don't know that it's not done, but I think that people with a brain don't do it anymore because there have been too many incidences of pets dying there. I don't, unless you really don't have a choice. And there are very, very many pet transports now. If you look on Facebook, and if you ever look on my page and you see all the animals that need homes, And if you need a transport, there are so many of them that, I mean, they do it for, to save the animals' lives and stuff like that. I'm sure if you needed a pet transported, they would do it for you. I mean, you might have to pay, but, whereas they don't charge the rescues very much because people are doing it out of the kindness of their hearts.
Right, absolutely.
I mean, I wouldn't put my dogs underneath. No way.
Okay, well, I haven't flown, let alone flown with a dog in so many years. It's probably been 30, 40 years since I've gotten up in an airplane.
Really?
Yeah, I'm just not a flyer. I was in the Air Force. I know what maintenance is about.
And what they don't do?
No, not what they don't do. It's just that there are times that they're pretty well up against the gun to get that plane off and running. And I think that they're not above the mistakes that are made by the average worker just because of the pressure of production put on them by management, because management will write off a bunch of people because they're paying insurance, to keep it all going, and just like in any other business. And that's one of the things, as you well know, that I get into on this show is, big business, the unholy trinity of big business, government, and organized religion. And big business will disregard the working person and what they call the peasants of the world that are basically doing the work that they delegate, and so that they can make like 800 times more money than the average worker. And it's killing the country, and I think what with Reagan messing up the unions, which among the myriad of different things that went on in his administration, I think we're worse off for it, and a close call has been redescribed now since and never changed. So I don't think we've had good odds so far, but I don't think the flying public is in all that much safety. And but that aside, since I was a kid, I watched High and the Mighty with John Wayne. And my parents I was 5 years old, and I watched that, and I had nightmares for 3 or 4 days. And then they took me on a Pan American trip, a Pan American prop plane, to London. And it took like 18 hours to get there. They had to make a stop in the Azores. This was in the 50s, and I hated flying ever since. And so I'm against it. And I pay the price when I want to go cross-country, which, as we talked about off the air, I'm going back to be bi-coastal for a little visit in the next few days. It's going to be on a Greyhound bus, and it's going to take 3 or 4 days, and it's a price to pay, but it won't ruin the 14 days before the vacation and the whole vacation thinking about flying back. And it'll be the first time I ever visit Florida when my mother isn't waiting there with open arms and conditional love and criticism about my beard. I don't know how I'm going to adjust to all of that. You mean to tell me I'm just going back for fun? How? What's it like? Dear Lord, I'm starting to believe in you after all. No pleasing for 57 years, and no pleasing anybody but myself for the last 10. So, but this will be the first time that I get to visit and that's really true. I never had fun in California because it was always an event, either taking the kid back there and the kid's mom back there, and those two together, and my brother and his family and what have you. It wasn't pleasant, and this one will be a pleasant one because I have family that isn't necessarily blood family.
Blood, but
right, but family nevertheless, right. So it's kind of cool. And we'll get to have a little Kittatinny reunion. And
I was just thinking the same thing.
Right, and I do my podcast from Uncle Bernie's basketball convention that he has every Tuesday in southern Florida. He brings all the old coaches and players together, and they all gab about the 1950s and basketball in New York City. And
really, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he has a very regular following of folks that get together who, and I have an open invitation to come and sit in these Tuesday morning breakfast type things. I'm very psyched about that. I'll have my digital mic with me and add to the quality of these fine podcasts. I say that in quotes, of course, because fine is all subjective. I think it's fun, and there you go. Now, tell me the big difference between living in Florida in the wintertime and the summertime. What the extremes are, if there are any real extremes in either.
Well, there are extremes. There are extremes. You know, people say they don't like it here because they don't have seasons. Well, we have seasons. You just have to know what they are. There's comfortably warm and very uncomfortably warm.
Oh, okay. But at least it is. But it's not uncomfortably cold very often.
It is not uncomfortably cold at all. I used, of course, I've changed too over the years a little bit, but it used to be that if the temperature went below 75, I needed a jacket. Not quite so much anymore. Now I need a jacket when it goes below 60. But as I said, I was in the pool today.
Not very often does it go below 60.
No, and if it does, it's during, it's when you're sleeping. I mean, yeah, during the winter, you might have a day where they say, oh, it's going to be cold, it's going to be down to 40-something. But it's 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, when
right.
You might be awake, but you're not usually up, you're not out.
And it'll get up to the 70s and low 80s, even in the winter?
No, those days, we have a couple of days where it doesn't quite hit 70, but, 60-something is delightful, if you ask me.
Well, I'm one of those that like a dry heat, and I know it's humid, and the only time I've visited has been in the summertime. So, and it wasn't horrible. You just sit out by the pool, or, you.
Yeah, if you stay wet, you either stay in the air conditioning, or you stay in the pool as much as you can.
Right, and how bad is that? Now, how far is, you're in West Palm Beach, how far is that from the actual beach itself? Like, could you walk to the beach?
No. Maybe somebody could. I couldn't.
Okay.
For me, as the crow flies or as the car drives? For me, as the car drives, I would say it's probably, depends on where. If I were to go to Palm Beach, which is like the closest, I don't go there, but that's the closest. I'd say that's probably about 7 to 8 miles.
Okay.
But I usually drive up to Jupiter to the dog beach. There's the dog beach, then you can take the dogs, and they have fun, and we have fun, and,
And they don't care that the dog's off the leash and what have you, right?
Well, I think supposedly the dogs are supposed to be on the leash, except that they can't run and play if they're on the leash, so
right.
The dogs are off the leash all the time, and everybody's used to it,
And they don't have any John Laws coming around just to check up and this, that, yeah.
I've never seen it, and we don't have lifeguards on that beach. I've never seen any police on that beach. Sometimes you get people who set up shop without a dog, and they get annoyed if a dog runs over to them. Well, hey, don't come to the dog beach.
Right.
Sometimes your dog will lift his leg on their stuff, but, you're at the dog beach. But that's the rarity.
You put yourself on the ground where the dog goes to the bathroom, ma'am. I'm sorry.
They provide bags for if you need it for something else.
Right.
But, there's not much you can do about it if they lift the leg.
That's for sure. All right, Barb, it's a pleasure. I love hearing your voice on this microphone.
Thank you. Love talking with you. Love reminiscing. Yeah. I'm so excited that you're coming down this way.
I am, and I appreciate your support. You gave me so much encouragement and what have you to do this. I want to be bi-coastal. I want the best of all the worlds, and
you should be here in the winter and there in the summer.
Absolutely, and I want to spend a little bit of New York time before it gets horribly.
Either way, hot or cold.
Right, and that would either be in the fall for 15 minutes or the spring for 15 minutes. But you have to time it. Sometimes you don't get 15 minutes in the fall, and you don't know if next spring you get any. So
that's true.
Yeah, it's a great New York. It's a great place to grow up and a great place to be away from in a lot.
Yeah, my sister will never leave.
Really?
She lives up on the Upper West Side, the Middle West Side. By she's between Central Park and Lincoln Center. And
in the 50s.
60s.
60s.
Yeah. 66. And she would never leave.
I can't blame her. I mean, there's an excitement to New York. There's the first run.
Yeah, I love visiting it. I don't know if I'd want to live there, though. She was telling me today, because her husband is kosher, and they go out to a kosher restaurant. She said, you can't eat for less than $100 a person in a kosher restaurant. Unless you're going to have a salad, I guess, maybe. She said it's impossible. Now, I haven't seen the menus. I don't know what they're ordering, but... She said
see, I've never been to Florida when I could do the Blue Plate special. So
we have all the early birds.
Knocking people all over, and they say, I'm first. There's a Blue Plate special.
Well, we went to Duffy's tonight, where on Monday nights, everything on the menu, if it's over $11.99, it's $11.99.
Ah, okay.
So we ordered
the best of the best.
Might as well. And I took home for tomorrow or the dogs, whichever. And so did he.
Good. Barbie, thank you very much. You're the best. And I just love your vibes. I just love your vibes. And to those who have good friends out there, imagine the best, most supportive person in the world who's always liking whatever harebrained scheme you have at the moment, and ignoring the fact that I have no lever. I just type stuff, and all of a sudden, 2 days later, I go, who the hell typed this? Why would have I said that? What am I?
No off switch. No off switch. If it's on your mind, it's on your tongue.
Right. Sometimes I hear it for the first time, and as I'm thinking it, it's already out there, and I go, why should have I said that? Now, how does that serve me? And oftentimes, not well, as you can see, bottom line, here I am by the lagoon in Alameda at the 420 studio. But, and it is a man-made smelly lagoon, and it's something that I'll relish the memory. And
not like the Dell?
That Dell, that's a memory. That doesn't smell at all. And that, by the Dell, they had the artesian well with the best water.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. That's in the Pocono Mountains in Pennsylvania, Kittatinny Camp, ladies and gentlemen.
On the Jersey side of the bridge.
Just on the Jersey, right as the Jersey hits it, is Dingman's Ferry, Pennsylvania, is the mailing address, but the camp itself is in Jersey. It was really very weird.
Layton, New Jersey.
Layton, New Jersey, and if you want to Google the best tennis player possibly of all time, who came from Oakland, California, a fellow by the name of Don Budge. Don Budge lived out his retirement years in Dingman's Ferry, Pennsylvania.
Really?
Yesterday there, yeah. And he had, I'm in the East Bay of Northern California, right by Oakland. Alameda's a little island off of Oakland. And I lived by the Don Budge tennis courts on 59th Street and Telegraph and Shattuck in Oakland for a long time. And a lot of sweat and blood left on those courts. And the kismet is that he walked the hallowed grounds of Dingman's Ferry, Pennsylvania. Quite a metropolis. But we're out of here, Barb. Thank you again. And
my pleasure. And I can't wait. Can't wait till you're here.
Debbie. Yeah, you remember Debbie,
do.
and
I do. As I passed by where I met her just about every day.
And she has you're a dog person. She's a cat lady, and anybody in this world, you can judge them right off the bat. If they love animals, if they really care about animals, they're good people. And that's one of the things I'm most proud to my kid is that way. He loves animals, hates war, and doesn't have a need to change his consciousness.
Good.
So that he's got the best of two worlds. I have no need to change my consciousness back. So,
you be well. You have a great trip out here, and I can't wait to see you.
All right, Barb. Thank you
Keep
very
in
much.
touch so I know when you're getting here.
All right. I'll end the segment as I do every other segment. I want you to stay on and listen because I implore you and everybody out there to keep your dreams wet and your humor dry. Keep your recruiting stations, military recruiting stations, are bad for the whole family. You will take your child there in one condition, and they will return he or she in another. I'm an example. I joined the Air Force to avoid the draft. Didn't even have to go overseas to be changed negatively by the experience of the service. Didn't come back nervous from the service, but that's it. And also, I want to say that if you have kids and you're looking for child care, the Father O'Briens of the world, the men that wear dresses, that are clerics, they're not the ones to take you.
Don't use them.
Right. Don't say something like this. Jews will never say, go over there, frolic with a nice please. Sit on his lap. Have a nice day. Jews don't do that with their kids. I don't know what it is. We're different that way, so I never quite got used to the idea that other people do after it's been in the newspaper for 40 frickin' years. They're a little boys' club, and a lot of them are perverted. A lot of them, a high percentage of them. That doesn't mean somebody doesn't like your child for the wonderfulness of your child. And for all of those of you who are sad for the rest of your life because Father O'Brien didn't choose you,
you're lucky.
You need to shake yourself, okay? You're okay. Somebody else will love you. I know. And you can come to Sister Mary Zig, who's on my Facebook all the time, to give you a little counseling about that sort of stuff. Okay. That was the end of the show. Love you, Barbie.
Love you, too. See you soon.
All right, over and out.
Okay, bye.
I am back. Comfortably Zoned Radio, Alameda, California, the 420 Studios. It's Thursday, about to put the show for the weekend show to bed, and waiting for my guest, who may or may not show up on air at this recording time, and he may already be here just listening. Never really know. But I am the Zigzag Man, and it is Thursday, and I'm just chatting away, waiting for the man to hit our airwaves. Will he? Won't he? Kurt, perfect time to introduce an icon in San Francisco, Mr. Kurt Weitzmann. Kurt, welcome. All right, see what happens when the guy's not there? That's the response. It all goes down. That's the way it is. The life of a producer of a radio show is different than the host. The host gets on, waits for the producer to have done his or her job. My producer is a dweeb. Okay? He just simply incompetent. He confirmed on Facebook. Today was the day, Thursday, 420. But he never did speak in person. So, his name, Ralph Mark Tyko. Ladies and gentlemen, the man, the myth, the legend, the producer. Sucks, but the host is in good voice and waiting patiently for his old bud from the zoo days, Mr. Kurt Weitzmann. Kurt, nice that you're here. I'm just rehearsing, like say he was here. Kurt, you're originally from New Jersey, if I'm not mistaken, and you're one of the few people who I've ever known of to come out, literally come out of the closet to your sexuality on a podcast radio show, and I'm proud to say it was mine. It was back in the days when I was working for FCC, Not So Free Radio in San Francisco. I wasn't working for them. I was renting studio space. I was a client. They listed me as a staff member. I was a client. It's a great station. Great idea. Should never have a station run by a tweaker. Hey, Kurt.
Hey, what's up, Ralph? Is this working?
All right. You know, I'm rehearsing. I put us on the air and doing a little segment, so I could either start all over again, or we could just introduce you as the man I've been trying to introduce and play with Mr. Kurt Weitzmann. You mind with no warm up? You right on the air? Is that all right? Or you want to start?
Yeah, well,
beautiful.
Yeah.
Comedy icon, San Francisco. We go way back in the 80s doing comedy at the Holy City Zoo, and you've been on these airs before. I was explaining to the audience that you were on back in the days when I was at FCC, Not So Free Radio in San Francisco.
Yeah, I love the term comedy icon. I'm like a bobble-headed Jesus on the front of your car. That's me.
Well, I'll tell you something. You are very well known. You've had a long-standing show in San Francisco. Why don't you start by talking about that a little? I think there's a tremendous production, and you bring it back from time to time, and it's really very special.
Yeah, I've done a bunch of them. The last one was the Spherical Historical San Francisco. It was kind of my little take on how crazy this little town is and all the history that goes into it. And yeah, when I was working with Howard Stone, we were doing the Jesus roast and the Hitler roast. We've done a bunch of shows in this little town.
Right. You guys are very, very creative. And I mentioned that my radio career was enhanced by your appearance. You were probably, as far as I know, the only human to have ever literally come out of the closet on their sexuality on a podcast radio show. It was mine. It was back.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah. That was it.
I'm proud. I'm proud that you can trust me after all these years, our friendship, that you felt comfortable, and it was very cool.
That's what it was. I trusted your listeners. See,
my listener, you mean? My listener would have been my mother. Right, singular, not plural, for sure. But I'm doing this thing the last few weeks, talking to a bunch of old zoo folks from way back.
Oh yeah, I was just at the Throckmorton, and I saw Will Durst, and Gallo Beelan was there, and Mark Pitt, of course, and Brian Copeland. It was really like a Holy City Zoo reunion. It was pretty fun.
Absolutely, and my old friend Godzilla, Doug Godzilla Ferrari.
Yeah, there too. Yeah.
I just did an interview with him that's going to a segment that's going to appear on this episode, as a matter of fact. He's playing at the Throckmorton tomorrow night, which is Friday the 11th, and it's somewhat of a comeback for him. He's had his ups and downs in life, as he'll tell you about, and it's not really a comeback that
He's living in Marin now, he told me. That's kind of interesting.
Right, it is, because he's a man who lived in San Francisco. Right, he's about as Marinish as the man.
Back in the day, there wouldn't have been enough cocaine for him to move to Marin. It would have been all gone. It would have been huge.
Well, and it would have been Margaret Cho who took all of his cocaine, because Lenny Bias called her a horse once.
Oh my God.
Anyway, yeah.
So anyway, I'm at the Punchline tonight. I don't know if you knew that. Everyone should come out and see that little show.
All right. This is going to be posted later on today, so in the late afternoon. So
sure, run out the door. Go to the Punchline.
Absolutely great. Yeah, Punchline. And we're, for those of you in the listening audience, San Francisco, California, it has always been the mecca of comedy, the start. We're talking about, in these segments, these past few episodes, actually, with a lot of comics that appeared at the old Holy City Zoo. You want to give me a zoo story that you may not have from your life? Holy City Zoo.
I remember the closing of the Holy City Zoo, that marathon. That was so awesome. It was just it was 24 hours of continuous comedy, and people can get up and do, any amount of sets. You're welcome to come back. And it's just, 3 in the morning, at 5 in the morning, at 6 in the morning. There was just people standing on stage, and it was great. And I remember Jeremy Kramer hosted the whole thing, and oh my God, it was just amazing. It was just amazing.
Yeah, great days that will never be recreated in San Francisco lore. And I mean, Robin Williams came out of there, Dana Carvey, a whole bunch of folks.
Margaret Cho, Dana Carvey. What's just the other Saturday Night Live guy? The
Weitzmann came out of there, for Christ's sake.
Weitzmann.
Right.
And and plus, not to mention that everybody who ever did comedy in the '80s came through there. Well, Paula Poundstone, of course, and all the Boston comics, Bobcat, and just everybody just coming through there. It was just a little hole in the wall that everyone performed at.
Right, and like I say, you're an integral part of it. You're a very, very cool guy who always seemed to have everybody at peace with each other. People are. I remember.
We all have our bitterness and spite, but I tried to keep that to them. What I like to do, it didn't do me any good. I mean, it's always good to be ambitious, but I always thought that it's really not how funny someone is. It's what kind of a good person they are. So you're always nice to people, and you look at them, are they a good person? Then, of course, you treat them civilly. If they're a jerk, then you treat them like a jerk. And, how funny they are shouldn't really come into that. And there's politics involved, but I never shut people out because I thought I was better than them, or that they couldn't do me any favors. So.
Well, you are what I call real, and not all comedians are. The ones that are, who can just look at you with a glint in their eye and realize that this is the candy store of life. This is comedy. It's like baseball. It's fun. It's meant to be fun and enjoyable. It's not something that's cutthroat and this, that, and the other thing. And
the thing about comedy is that you try to put yourself on stage, and if you're not doing that, if you're not a charming person in real life, or if you're a jerk in real life, then to go on stage as this smarmy, charming, glad-handing crowd pleaser, then you're not being real on stage. So, I think the best comics are real on stage and are actually really decent people. And that's, you don't really know that till you get to know them, but I think that's, I will say, like, if I don't like someone, I'm like, oh, he's not funny. I can't watch them on stage if they've done something horrendous. So, you know what I mean? This is horrible moral fiber that I hold that holds me back, but,
Right. There's a lot of karma out there in the comedy world that seems to come around.
And again, it's a cutthroat business. If you got to be a little bit, it's a fine line. It really is hard. People don't know how hard it is to be a decent person as a stand-up comic.
Oh, absolutely. And there's a whole bunch of networking, and you have to have some of the things that you have, which is social skill, that comes out of that niceness, and you're not a bitter person, and that makes the comedy world better. So, hey, listen, good luck at the Punchline tonight. I love having you on. I want
Thanks,
you to stop
Ralph.
by.
Yeah, we'll see each other in person sometime, yeah.
Absolutely. It won't be in the next few days, I'm embarking on a cross-country, little bit of an extended vacation in hopes of someday being bi-coastal. I'm going to head out towards Florida, and continue the show just as it is. Mostly it's done with conference calling interviews, so that won't change the show at all. But I'll get to see what Florida is like without my mom being there. I used to visit her down there. She lived down there for a bunch of years before she died. And
she was an old Jew and she lived in Florida? That's weird. That's bizarre.
An old Jew living, and now I'm the old Jew. Remember Howard's line, old Jews and their parents. Florida.
Exactly. Yeah, totally. All right, Ralph, I'll let you go.
All right, thanks, man, and please keep stopping by and adding your charm.
Okay, I'll talk to you later, man. Bye.
Thanks. Hey, that was Kurt Weitzmann. You are comfortably zoned from De Lagoon in Alameda, the 420 Studios. I got a good show today for you, and the one I'm going to post within the hour. Here it is. I got Brother Scott and I are introducing a musical group. There are two of them. They are sisters. They both play ukuleles, and they are the Allegre Sisters. They're big in the East Bay right now. They're from Susanville, and Brother Scott's going to be on momentarily, and we're going to play some of their music. They will knock you away, and sometimes, I'm sorry, this is radio, and this show doesn't happen to have a slideshow that goes with it. Some do. The YouTube ones do. This will be on YouTube, but Sans Slideshow, thank you to Spreaker. But because these are very, very attractive young women and musically talented to beat all hell, and we're going to introduce them. And then Joe Dyson, an old Holy City Zoo guy who wrote a book about not quite making it as a comedian. I mean, very, very interesting what goes into that. And he'll be talking about his old Holy City Zoo days. After that, wow, Godzilla himself, Doug Ferrari, winner of one of the early San Francisco comedy competitions, when it meant something, back in the day, in the 80s, when San Francisco had this terrific very, very famous competition. Robin Williams finished second one year. A whole bunch of people won it, names that you would know, and Doug mentions in the interview. And that should about wrap it up for the weekend edition of 420 with the Zigzag Man from the Lagoon. So sit back, enjoy. Remember this, okay? Every now and again, you got to change the bong water. Okay? Really? You got to do something. All right? I know it doesn't change itself, but you get your feet up, you're on the couch, you're listening to this crap. Get up. Be a mensch. Change the bong water, for Christ's sake. You're comfortably zoned. 420 Studios. Over and out. I am back, comfortably zoned, and you are comfortably zoned with the Zigzag Man, Alameda, California. The 420 Studios down by the Lagoon. That's a hint as to where we are in Alameda, the Lagoon. If you're in Alameda, if you know of Alameda, you know that there's a lagoon, and it's man-made. Very artificial. A lot of Alameda is artificial, from the lagoon to the beach, where the banks sit, where Safeway sits, where the parking lot is in the little mall. That's all landfill. It's all landfill. Any big earthquake, and if we're sitting by the lagoon, we may be swimming out to sea. So, but I take a risk every day. And that's the way it is. Life is a risk. This is kind of a somber day for me. Haven't mentioned this to our guest. Hey, Dougie, baby. Doug Ferrari.
Hi.
How are you?
Hey, buddy.
Yeah, Doug's in sin. Yeah, well, I lost my sister-in-law, who fought a valiant fight. She passed away of cancer. And she would love to hear some laughter from Doug Ferrari, because that's when, and so would I, she would have, and so am I, looking forward to it. Because laughter, when people are down, when people are down-ridden, when people are off their game, laughter brings them back. It brings the whole world together, and that's why I love talking to comedians, especially Dougie, because Doug's real, and you've been on a couple, 3 times, and it's always been fun. And first thing I'm going to ask you is, and her name was Debbie Kirschbaum Slay, by the way.
Well, my condolences, Ralph, and you're absolutely right about laughter. I watch comedies on TV of 100 kinds. I don't want, or a violent horror movie. That takes my mind off things.
Right.
Horror movies make me laugh. Real life scares the shit out of me. But more people should be watching more comedy, seeing live comedy, watching it on YouTube. Because it's not only the best medicine, but laughter is cheaper than therapy, and I think it works better.
Absolutely. And there was a tremendous guy. I didn't appreciate him when I was a kid. His name was Sam Levinson. He was a former New York City school teacher. He's not past being dry. He simply, he was more of a philosopher than a comedian. And, but very clever. I've come to read some of his quotes. And he wrote a book entitled Laughter is the Best Medicine. And he went in, he would do comedy, but he'd talk about it. And, he wrote a number of books.
He was on TV a lot. I grew up with him, and I used to read. I had some of his books, so I collected comedy books. When I was a kid, I thought that you had to have every Mad Magazine paperback and comedy book by Woody Allen or anybody else, because that's for I thought comedians got their material by stealing it all. Like you had to have like a library so you could steal all the jokes. Nobody knows where comics jokes come from. People still ask me, are you making that up as you go along? Meanwhile, there's a lot of stuff to memorize. But that's doing a good service, and I want you to keep posting on my Facebook page. Ralph and I are Facebook buddies. I just got to 4,000 friends, which would be impressive, wouldn't it?
Right. If you knew 3,996 of them, it would be great.
I think 1,000 of them are Italian movie companies, because I used that to pad it up years ago when I cared. And it's like Facebook has 1 billion people on it. They always say Facebook has 1 billion people. Yeah, but 200 million are cats, and another 300 million are repeats. Ralph and I love making fun of Facebook.
Well, it is what it is. I'm indebted to it for it bringing me together with folks that I was out of contact with, both old camp people I grew up with, summer camp people, comedy people. I've been out of the business. I came back in the business per se a few years ago to do podcast radio, and the funniest, most interesting people to talk to are comedians, and I've had terrific fun just reminiscing with guys that I'd stand in cattle call lines with 30 years ago. Rudy Reber.
We're still around. We just, Mark Pitta just took a picture at the Throckmorton Theater of Larry Brown, Rick Reynolds, and he and I called it the survivors of the 80s. Whenever I see old friends from 30 years ago, Ralph, or more like you, we are the survivors. And Facebook is for the children of the 60s. Facebook is for people our age. They keep saying on the news that young people have all left Facebook. They think it's boring and stupid. They don't like it. So what do? They Twitter, they Instagram, they face chat, all things that don't really involve any writing or talking. They don't involve
interpreting or learning from what other people really say.
Well, and you're doing a service getting comedy out there, and I want you to keep posting on my page to see if any of my 4,000 cats will pay attention. And I think that it's great. I like it. I mean, I have a love-hate relationship with Facebook, but it's just so funny. Like, I'll put up something that George Takei got 278,000 likes on, and then I'll get 5 likes. I think that they've hidden so much stuff from the news feed. I can't ever find anything anymore, and I have like 4,000 people, and I got 1,200 pages that I like.
Wow!
So keep putting it up, man.
Okay. Well, I only like the
that's what I was going to say is what we're both doing is bringing some comedy to Facebook, because I've been posting lately that Facebook needs more laughs and less memorials. It's like a graveyard sometime. It needs more comedy. I've always had a comedy page. I don't talk about what I had for lunch or have a picture of my salad. I just want
this show, we do something on this show that barely heard on today's radio of any kind. I come up against what I call the Un-Holy Trinity, which is big business, government, and organized religion of all kinds.
What's the difference? That's
they're
one
all
thing.
Together. Right.
Yeah,
it's
big
one
business,
thing.
government, and organized religion walk into a bar and they're the same guy.
Right. Exactly. It's sad but true. So that is, I ask people who come on, and I'm going to be asking you just off the top of your head, is there anything about either of those 3 institutions, if you will, that is particularly irking you today, right now?
Yes.
And go with it.
I do want to make sure I get enough plugs in for my show. I'm doing a concert.
We got all that. You're at the Throckmorton. Now tell us about that first.
Friday, April 11, and it's called the Doug Ferrari Reunion Show. I got myself back together because I have traits of Asperger's, and I came out with all the crazy stuff I have years ago in the media. I have attention deficit disorder and anxiety disorder, which means a few things I do pay attention to scare the shit out of me. And, I talk about all that stuff. So but the thing is, that leads me to the part of your Trinity that I have as my biggest pet peeve is big pharma. The 20 years of meds they've tried to give me, I'm not even on any of them anymore because you need like 10 of them, 5 of them for the bad side effects of the other 5. And I like posting stuff about that. And the one that's been my latest, the ad that's been driving me crazy, Ralph, is as I watch a lot of TV, I have to watch a lot of news, and all the ads during the news are for medications for diseases, and mostly antidepressants. But the one that's been bugging me lately is Androgel and some other brand of testosterone that the guy applies to his armpit. Now, some people have low testosterone. They should, take a shot. But they've been pushing this low T thing. It's like Cialis and Viagra, and the guy you put it under your armpit, and a rainbow. Their logo is a rainbow comes out and shoots into your armpit, and then it proceeds to go with the side effects, which is keep your wife away if she's pregnant or about to become pregnant. Can't go near the affected area. You might break out an extra body hair or uncontrollable acne. The children may show. Call your doctor if the children show early signs of puberty, or that your son or you or your son have large, painful breasts. And I'm thinking, what is this guy willing to do to his family to get a boner?
Right.
I mean, your daughter. Wait, let me finish. Your daughter, it's like, hey, buddy, your daughter has an arm going out of her forehead, and your son has a vagina. But hey, I'm getting laid.
No, how does this spread to the kid? I mean, they're taking this testosterone, this medicine before
they just
the child.
So they went to every kind of daily Cialis. They keep jacking up the Viagra and Cialis, but this is a new thing about low T. Low T. So basically, they've got people doing what Barry Bonds was doing. They get the guys doping, but I've heard of guys that take a shot and they don't say anything about the affected area. So why in the hell do they have a roll-on if it's going to make your whole family change their sex?
I just pictured a father-son day out. They're going out to have matching bras fit. It's just, it's a crazy world.
Stay away from Dad's left armpit. Yeah, but the thing, and you don't know because I know you have a life. And I have to watch 4 hours of news a day, so my audience doesn't have to. But I'm telling you, man, they got 42 of the testosterone, and they've got 50 new terrible medication ads just lately. They're going crazy. You thought it was bad before, Ralph. It's gotten worse. There's this one called Zenapro. There's this one called Zenapro because it has to have an X or a Q in the name. They spend millions working on these names of these meds. So Zenapro does something to old men. I guess it makes them feel better, or it's joint pain. And then the side effects, hey, old men out there, if the side effects use the word bleeding 5 times in 20 seconds, don't take the fucking pill.
Well, that would absolutely not. Oh, man, getting old, the prospect of getting old. I'm already old, but we're both kind of old, but we're not elderly. And that's kind of nice. No,
our generation grows old but never grows up, and we keep a nice flowing level of immaturity at all times. But yeah, my knee gets stiff sometimes, and I notice like a lot of guys my age are doing that. So instead of just I'm trying to take care of it, but all my friends just always say, "Hey, you're going old. Yeah, you're old." And I'm thinking, I don't do any bits about growing old. I don't feel my age or whatever. As long as women, guess 45 years old, I'm happy. It's all about image in my business, Ralphie. you look exactly the way you're supposed to look, and I dye my hair. But hey, if it's that easy to fool people, God bless them. But yeah, definitely,
the chemical in the dye is what would discourage me from that.
I'm feeling old lately, buddy, because lately now when I stand up or sit down on a low chair, I sound like a samurai taking a dump.
Ah, okay. Well, and that can be experienced in person at the Throckmorton on the 8th. It's on a Friday night.
No. Friday, April 11th.
11th.
Friday, April 11th.
This coming. And, wow. Now, you're on a comeback trail. You've been up.
Well, they asked me to do a show. I do rehab centers. I do recovery conventions. I do a lot of charity shows, and I wasn't on a normal stage for a while. I started doing Mark's show again. He's done this show every Tuesday for 9 years with every kind of comic that's great names, fake names. He just had Charles Fleischer there. Dana Carvey was there again last week. But the thing is that he has regulars, and I might have the record. In 9 years of Tuesdays, I've done about 80 of them, and they're the best audience. They're not rich, yuppie fucks. They're Marinites who are educated, and they get all the drug jokes because they've either been to rehab or they got a kid in rehab, and they're just a great audience. And there's no other show like
Mom and Dad. Mom and Dad could be in rehab too, for crying out loud.
Yeah, I moved during the last year of his show. I moved to San Rafael. One of the reasons was to be close to the show, because I do it a lot, but I haven't done a concert there in years, so I'm kind of worried. I'm really glad that you called me and stuff, because it's tough when you're the whole show. The people from Tuesday night get the joke, and people from my past will get the joke, because the Doug Ferrari reunion show seems to be cracking my friends up.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Hey, by the way, a lot of people are tuning in maybe to the show for the first time, maybe to Doug Ferrari, and don't know who this man is. First of all, let me say San Francisco was the mecca of comedy in the 80s, in the late 70s, 80s, and they had something called the Comedy Competition. And Doug Ferrari, early on, I don't remember what year it was, but you were a winner of the San Francisco Comedy Competition when the comedy competition meant something. And,
it was very big. It was very big back in the day, and all the big names from this LA, from the whole country were in it. Robin Williams was in the first one, and Bob Goldthwait, and every big name competed, and usually the biggest teams today are the ones that lost. Robin Williams came in second the first year. I always say that first. But I've never been to leagues in competition. I never played sports as a kid. I was a total show business kid, total loner kid. So, yeah, I did 4 years of them in a row. And let me tell you, comics are not in a good mood or not very polite when they're under that kind of pressure. You spend like 20 days with comics, and they're bitter and vicious.
Right, you're competing against each other, and in your own mind, you think, why aren't I just the funniest one all the time? Am I right?
Yeah, well, I never had the winning attitude or anything until the fourth year, because by then I was so used to it, I didn't give a shit anymore. It's very tough. It's the Olympics of comedy, and comedy is one of those things like the Oscars for film, where there shouldn't be any competition, because you can't say who's funnier from these wacky shows where there's like 20 guys doing it, but the audience's applause is counted, and judges are doing it at the end for half an hour. It's a very, very weird thing. I never talk about it. I can tell you a couple of funny stories though, because it was 30 years ago right now. Did you know that?
No.
That's when I won in 1984. Turned out that wasn't such a scary year after all.
It wasn't. And can you believe how fast these frickin' 30 years have gone by?
Sometimes it's gone slow, but yeah, there's guys now like Mark Pitta, where I've worked with for 31 years. I don't know any of these guys for less than 30 years, and a lot of guys are still out there doing good. And you can still make people laugh every day and night and do modern media like your podcast and do
Mark Pitten's podcast. Doesn't Mark Pitten do a great...
You don't have to be a superstar to make people laugh. I never went to L.A. I went to L.A. really young, and it scared me. And somebody once said years ago, they said, hey, you're not in L.A., you should have been on Letterman by now. And I said, I was at the Comedy Store in L.A. when I was 16 years old. I could have been Freddie Prinze by now. So there's the San Francisco scene and the Throckmorton is part of it, where there's more comedy stuff popping up. I just talked to a comic in the dressing room the other night, Ralph, and there's a lot of new comedy shows in San Francisco. There's Doc Ricketts, where the Purple Onion was, and there's La Parada. There's all these different places to play, so I got into the city and start doing them again.
Beautiful.
I miss the
San Francisco.
You know what a modern comedy showcase is? I'll describe it to you. It's the Brainwash Cafe and Laundry that Tony Sparks does on Thursday nights that you well know. And you play cafes nowadays. I did the Java Beach for a year of Wednesdays. I did the Bazaar Cafe for a year of Tuesdays, and the cafe audiences now are so modern. The way I know I'm going over at the Brainwash is if the 10 people in the back on their laptops close their screen. That's how you know you got over. I saw an open mic in L.A. I saw an open mic in L.A. years ago at a Borders bookstore cafe, and there were 10 people in the audience, and they were all reading books for free. No one ever looked up, and the comics went on for 90 minutes anyway. I can't do that, but, that's the modern audience. What?
Yeah, I was going to say, it wasn't much different from the Zoo on open mic nights.
No, the Zoo was wild and loud, and you could do new material on any night, and the crowd was crazy, and they liked weird stuff. But there were no laptops.
Right,
there were no laptops. Right. I'm surprised that any place ever brings in any kind of a show, music or comedy, and lets people sit there on their laptops because they don't want to lose the $3 profit they're going to make on the coffee. But and there's a great audience at the Brainwash too. But every cafe has a laptop crowd, and those are the ones I play to.
And if you can make them concentrate, it doesn't matter. You got something. If you could really make it connect with a small audience, sometimes you come away with a bigger high than you would when you can't even see the audience. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, that's where the showcases are supposed to be tough, because that's where you work out and you get. You work out and you warm up for shows and stuff. But that's why all the comics like the Throckmorton, because Johnny Steele, Will Durst, all the comics I know that are doing a lot of shows in the Bay Area, they're all playing theaters. I started in the theater. I love the theater, the roar of the grease paint, the smell of the crowd. And that's why the Throckmorton and other places are better for comedy. There's no waitresses, there's no blenders, there's no heckling. The worst thing there's no hissing. When I started at the other cafe and played Berkeley a lot, Ralph, remember the hissers? They used to piss all comics off. You can't, if a guy says, fuck you, you can knock him down for 5 minutes. But what can you do about some, table of women that hiss? That was a comedy killer. They don't hiss, but the thing is, that's why the Throck is great, Ralph, because you got to do comedy, and you should do a podcast live sometime, but you got to do comedy in a theater. There's, I go to sports bars now in the East Bay, and they leave the 7 screens on when you're doing your show. Nobody has any attention span anymore. It's like you can't I didn't even ask them to turn the screens off. I just asked him to turn the spotlight on. The spotlight had like a purple gel on it. And he goes, oh, well, the musicians don't like bright light in their eyes. I go, yeah, but it's a comedy show. And then the crowd was good. It was good money. And my friend Bob O'Phillips put it on. But, that's another new thing now is the sports bars. And can you get people to look at you and laugh when the human eye is trained to go to a TV screen, especially if there's 52 inches.
Right. And
Or
there's
70,
a big game on.
But nothing's
They have
changed.
bucks in the game.
Remember the early days, Ralph, when we started in 80, 81, or even earlier? I didn't do stand-up till 80, 81. And then there was Liar's Dice. There was always an Irish bar. The bar was right in front of the stage, and there was guys slamming those cups on the bar.
Right. Yes.
Boom! And like the pinball machine and the jukebox, and it's like, are you turning anything off? I'm trying to do a show here. It's, a lot of bookers. A lot of guys that just have a nice place somewhere. They don't understand, never understood comedy. I've had guys go like, well, you don't need a mic, right? And they go, yes, the comedian's instrument is a microphone. If there's no microphone, it's just talking.
Right. Yeah. What's to separate them from you? You're. It's like an audience member just gets up and on stage.
Yeah, but the reason so many people like Dana Carvey came out of San Francisco, Ralph, is because we were out there 4 or 5 nights a week. There was more than one place a night every night. The Holy City Zoo, the Intersection, the other cafe. I'd go to 2, 3 places a night and do sets, and Robin Williams was always there ahead of me working out. And
right, he's the hardest working guy. I mean, he's taken away. You can't take anything away from him because he worked every night for years, and he's funny. He's funny as fuck. I mean, what are you going to say?
I've seen him in the last few years at a lot of 90-minute concerts that he does for an animal charity. He does them at Bimbo's in San Francisco, and I've seen him 10 times or less at the Frock on Tuesday. I've probably done since 76, maybe 100 shows with Robin. And you know what? His latest stuff is still fresh as ever. It's better than ever. Now he does all this stuff about alcohol. It's hilarious. And he's got more edge now. He's out there working just like Dana. Some guys never give up. They keep working on. Some guys aren't pure stand-ups. A lot of people go into stand-ups so they can get an acting gig on a sitcom, and then they never go on stage again. A lot of guys never were stand-ups, like Michael Richards, who goes up on stage once in his life and ends up dropping the N-bomb. Remember that?
Absolutely. You're talking about Kramer, of course.
Yeah, but I've always loved him, and I forgive him for that, but that was like a major boner that was on YouTube in 2 seconds, and it changed the whole L.A. comedy scene because they had the band, they had never, it's only a few years ago, right, but believe it or not, L.A. had never banned the N-word from the comedy clubs, and after that night with Michael Richards, they all banned the N-word, and by the next night, 2 or 3 comics were getting banned a night.
Wow. Black comics use the expression differently then, and it's who's using it and with what inflection. I was going to ask you about that. How has comedy changed for you now that we're living in days of you can't talk about stereotypes, political correctness? How were you affected by the change?
Well, the people, your folks listening now, probably never seen me. I'm more of a legend than any kind of a celebrity, but I'll tell you, I always have talked about everything. I became a political comic the day Bush was selected, and I did that for 8 years, and I've never knocked Obama. I don't do politics now, but I talk about every subject in the world, and I say I'm Italian-Irish. You want to know what pisses me off? Good, I have a list, and I take out a list, and I do that for half an hour because it feels good. It gets it off my chest. I'm a ranter and raver. I can't be funny about something unless I'm pissed off about it.
Doug, have medications for what you go through changed for the better? The jokes about the side effects or the reality of the side effects in terms of your head? Have pharmacy? Can we give them any props for development or give the doctors props for diagnosis?
I went into recovery 12 years ago this year, 1994. And as I say on stage, I have 15 years clean and sober, not in a row. But the thing is that I did therapy. I was in therapy with this great female doctor for 15 years. That's 3 years longer than my marriage lasted. And a lot of the medications did work, but it takes years for these poor mentally disabled people today to find the right combination. They have to take a whole bunch of them, and you keep changing it. You know, ironically, for somebody who doesn't drink anymore, they call it a cocktail. You're always adjusting your cocktail. That's what they call it when you take your cup full of pills, is a cocktail. And, boy, I haven't been on any...
Dispel the notion it doesn't get you high by any stretch. But it doesn't.
No, a lot of them can be very helpful, but there's only certain ones that are helpful. Every 11-year-old boy in America doesn't have to be on Ritalin. But I took Ritalin for a while, and I'll probably take it again. It worked for me. It's a big black market drug with kids because it has the word meth in it, so they think it's meth. Well, a lot of drugs have meth in the title. But the thing is, it actually calms down people with ADD like me much better on stage. It isn't an upper. Yeah, it's different. You know, sometimes medication, Ralph, is better than drugs because at least you know what you're getting. But it's a very hard road. That's why for a while now I haven't been on any meds because they make you too sleepy. They do this. Everything has, you know, a blessing and a curse. That's why all those antidepressant ads have always annoyed me. They keep people from taking them when maybe they should. They scare them away by having too many and having them terrible. And it's like basically all the antidepressant ads say, you know, either you'll want to put your head in the oven or you won't be able to get a hard on. Take your pick. So, yeah. No, because they all antidepressants give guys impotence. So, you know, they all, it's, you know, yeah, then you take something else to balance that. And then, you know, pretty soon you're taking a lot of shit. So I'm off of all of it right now. But I'd probably take some of them again. And
one drug I heard you could have your head in the oven and get a hard on at the same time. Which
it would on a lot of those medications and shit. Yeah, you end up having to take. I remember I used to take Viagra when I was married because my wife and I did not have a great marriage. I think we lived together 3 years out of 12 years. It was very tough. Very bizarre. I'll do some material about it someday, but my longtime girlfriend, Deb, she doesn't like me doing jokes about my ex because it reminds her that she exists. But, boy, it was a tough foot. I remember one time when I was, like, living in the bedroom alone for 2 years or whatever, I remember one time I found a bottle of Viagra in my drawer, and it was like 20, 40 pills or whatever. It expired from never being used. That's a bad sign. You know, I thought, shit, man, that's $200 I just blew.
Absolutely.
I could have at least jacked off or something.
Not that you didn't.
No, I probably not. It wasn't. The vibes weren't good. The vibes, man. The vibes in that house were not good, brother.
Oh no, but I'm sure you managed to find a time during the day when you could be alone with the man you love. Who I don't know, but I know, Doug, that anybody in your situation would probably have, so it doesn't make you bad.
Yeah, well, you know, I think it's a real good sign that marijuana is now being accepted by a majority of people and a majority of the country, and it's just going to go off like wildfire. And medical marijuana, I always defend that when you know, because they're still fighting against that until they're going to realize soon they've lost. But the right wing fights against that. And I always say, you know, those people are in chemotherapy. They're not partying. You know, it's a bald woman in a wheelchair with cancer. Let her have her joint. Let her have her brownie.
Right. Well, in California,
what cracks me up is that a lot of my old friends now, some of them comedians, you know, they're all on prescriptions now, but they all said that they needed the strongest Sinsemilla THC pot in the world for their anxiety. And I always think, man, that shit used to give me anxiety.
Me too.
You know, Be honest, say, because you just need to get stoned every once in a while. So.
Absolutely. Kids out there, if you're over 18 and you're thinking about smoking, don't smoke that evil weed. Put it in an envelope and get it to me. I have leather lungs, and I will protect you from that evil weed.
When you do your live podcast, ask people to bring you weed. I saw Hunter S. Thompson twice, and both times somebody threw an ounce of pot at him on the stage. And my friend Rick Wright did stand-up on the road with Tommy Chong from Cheech and Chong, and every night somebody's bringing him an ounce of $300 ounce and giving it to him as a gift. He said by the end of the week he had a whole bags on the mantelpiece over the fireplace of free weed.
Well, they deserve it because they were really heroes in terms of making weed less evil than the horrible movie that influenced my mother in the 30s. She was a teenager, and Reefer Madness. It's a cult, cult movie now that's funny to people, but people in the 30s took it seriously. After all, musicians, blacks were smoking that. They were afraid that their daughters might be caught up into some ecstasy. And
right. Well, early big pharma is the one who got marijuana made illegal in 1937. Years before that, Cab Calloway had 15 songs with hot in the title or weed mentioned in them. And there was the funny reefer
interestingly enough, I was just going to say that Reefer Madness came along in 1936. So, believe me, the movies had a great control of legislation.
I've seen Reefer Madness so much, and my comedy group used to open at midnight movies for Reefer Madness, Wild Weed, and all these other movies. There's one called Marijuana Weed with Roots in Hell, and it has this great scene I'll never forget where all these girls get stoned and they undress to their slips and they all run out into the ocean and they're all giggling at night up to their knees in water in the ocean. They all run in and dry off, and then a minute later somebody goes, "Where's Edna?" And she drowned.
It sounds funny now, but that scared my mother.
Drowned.
It scared my mother.
My father Italian father from a town and a depression baby. The only thing he ever said to me from the crib was, "Go finish college and don't smoke weed." And I looked down on both of those things. But I think a lot of my friends need to get stoned. Just to live in this life today, people need some release. And
absolutely. This is benign compared to drugs that are out there, and it isn't a drug; it's an herb. And there's a difference between herb and hemp, ladies and gentlemen. Hemp you can build your house out of hemp and not have to cut down trees.
Hemp will not get you high, but it keeps Woody Harrelson's pants up.
So many things. Cotton with the boll weevil can be replaced by hemp. They build fabric that's so beautiful and so soft, and you don't have the evil shit going. The evil shit that they spray, that Monsanto comes up with, that Obama. I'm not going to speak badly about Obama on a show that I don't want to be the first one among us, but I think he sold us out to Monsanto, and I'm very, very disturbed about that.
I even without trying to keep up on things like Monsanto, I see many posts on Facebook every day because I have a pages feed with a lot of political sites, and I've been seeing all this stuff. And I don't, with a lot of current events, I don't see the funny. Sometimes I put stuff up on Facebook because it outrages me, but I usually try to just keep it funny. But Bill Maher did have a great line because he has great writers. And he had a great line where he said, the people like Monsanto now, they don't even grow crops anymore. They just squirt a red goo at the ground, and a month later Cheetos come up.
It wouldn't be so funny if I didn't have a bag in my backpack right now. Because that's an artificial food. 20 years ago, that shit didn't even exist.
You know who's going to make a fortune is the guy who figures out how to keep that red Cheetos dust out of your beard.
Right.
But, that's what you can... Everything, all the food ads on TV are all like mini Hershey's and Hershey's spread, chocolate spread on your bread and all this. Everybody, we are officially a weed culture in America now, Ralph, because not only are all the ads all about munchies, and the munchies industry is taking off, and a Girl Scout had the record for Girl Scout cookies. She made like $1,300 because she set up in front of a Colorado marijuana dispensary, and she sold like 1,100 boxes in a day.
Oh, that is terrific.
And
she'll be another happy customer for the rest of her life.
Yeah, if anybody wants to see this, if anybody out there wants to see this shit every day, friend me on Facebook or friend Ralph, because he posts a lot of good stuff. And the one thing I found...
I post a lot of your stuff, Doug. Thank you very much
trying to find a funny story on the news, on TV, Facebook, anywhere, is so hard. But I did find one, and it's when I realized that we are definitely a munchies culture now, is that New York City has 24-hour ATM machines that dispense cupcakes.
No.
Okay, it's cupcakes and cookies from Sprinkled Cupcakes, $4.25 a cupcake. And there is sometimes line, and the line will all smell like weed. You'll have to wait for the guy that's licking the slot. But basically, if you need a cupcake at 4 in the morning, the war on drugs is over.
It is absolutely over. In Colorado, in Washington, absolutely increased their tax dollar. It makes sense. People need the diversion that isn't going to kill them. Alcohol, and especially alcohol combined with either prescription medication or over-the-counter medication or illegal drugs, is deadly. Any of those combinations is deadly. So why not give in? People say, I was wrong. I've been a Wake & Baker for many, many years. Believe me, I didn't start smoking dope for the medicinal part of it. I didn't ever think in terms that it would prevent cancer, it would decrease tumors, it would do any of the things, blood pressure going down, everything's things that we didn't know. I didn't smoke for that. I smoked for the filter and for just the nice way of looking at things.
After 25 years of doing, after 25 years of smoking pot and doing a lot of blow in the 80s and doing a lot of acid in the 70s, the first thing you learn when you go into therapy is it's called self-medicating. So we've been using pot as medication for 30, 40 years, and the only thing I ever warn, I never give advice wherever I play. Everything is funny. But I do say to kids, be careful because, they say, well, I can smoke weed because my parents smoked weed. Yeah, but it's different because our pot was shitty. 1974, $15 ounce, of like shitty Mexican with like stick stems, tam bark, 20 pennies, and a nail. That was the first bag I bought. And then nowadays it's this weed of death, polio weed, 2 hits in your coffin, blood for an hour, and 3 hits, you quit your job, live in a tree, and learn to play the flute.
That's good stuff.
That shit today is strong. I don't even have to smoke it. I can smell it in like my friend's pocket from a mile away. I don't know how anybody gets through gets their suitcase back from the airport and stuff unless you got it encased in like bags of fresh ground coffee, because that shit is stanky.
Right. That's one reason when I go back east, I take Greyhounds where they don't give a fuck. And I don't have to get up in the air. I'm terrified.
Yeah, when I used to work, you have to talk to you about sometime. I'd love to do a service for people, teaching them how not to be afraid of flying, because I've flown a million times. I've never driven a car, but I have no problem flying, and that's how I could do the road. And I know the secret of just like going to sleep as soon as you get on and never watch the movie or talk or or eat any of their food. I just like, I'm out, and then I don't wake up and get off the plane until everybody's been gone 20 minutes and the guy is vacuuming the plane, you know. Oh, I have
so it's the anticipation of it for the last week before you go, and then when you're on vacation, there's the anticipation of the flight coming back. So it ruins the pre-vacation, and then after you're back and I just can't do it. It's been about 30 years I haven't been in the air, and yet I've gone cross country in vans and on Greyhound buses. The southern route mostly for many times.
You get a good view that way. You get a lot of material for a book or something. Right. But no, I don't.
It would be a comic book.
This is something where I love to help people. I have helped people before, but mostly by being on the flight with them and telling them to drink heavily. But the thing is that I got to tell you the story, because when I did a show a few months ago at the theater, one joke of all my stuff about losing 120 pounds in the last year or whatever, and I haven't milked that or gone to the media or anything, but in this country you can have a whole comeback career just by losing weight. I lost more weight than that skin bitch on Biggest Loser who turned into an anorexic and lost whatever. But the thing is that this, I'm 6'5", as you know, and I got up to 310 pounds, but I was probably 280 or whatever, too big. My whole family's big, but too big in the 80s, and it was probably the 80s or 90s. I'm doing the road, and I'm going from Washington to Montana, so I get a puddle jumper, which is a 20-seat jet, like the kind Justin Bieber uses, sort of, right? So I get on this plane, and I am so happy because the plane is empty. There's nobody but me and the crew. And I sit in the back seat, and I say, finally, leg room, and I put one foot on each armrest, spread across the aisle, and I'm in heaven. And the flight attendant came back, and she said, the pilot says you have to sit in the middle to balance the plane.
Oh, wow.
Nobody laughs at that. I don't think it should put on stage.
You're a big boy. It's not,
true,
I
though.
picture.
That's why a lot of times telling the truth on stage does not get a laugh. The truth is scary. You got to put some comedy in it.
Absolutely, and vice versa. So
that's right.
Hey, Doug. One more time, it's for everybody. It's Doug Ferrari at Facebook, and it's the 11th, which is a Friday night, the 11th of April, year of our Laude, 2014. And
but it's I'm going to have Mark Pitt is going to bring me up, and then Joshua Raoul Brody, the great piano player from Rick and Ruby and a lot of other groups. He's an old friend of mine.
You've evolved over the years. You're an entertainer, and I say that you remind me a lot of Boz Skaggs, of Zappa. You got that stage, and you're doing some of your musical comedy too. It's going to be a great show, and you invited me and a friend, or you invited me and my friend. And I
invited you with all your friends. And also, people can go to YouTube channel.
That would be a friend. That would be a friend.
Listen, you reminded me, Ralph. People can go to my YouTube channel, which is Doug Ferrari Comedian, and some of the rock and roll comedy is on there. I don't pretend to sing or play an instrument, but yeah, you're right. I'm an old vaudevillian, Ralph. That's why we get along. I'm an old tumbler. I'm a tumbler. Explain that to people.
Right. That you can't really. Sometimes there's no literal translation, and I wonder if there's a translation. Or literal.
Yeah, it's Yiddish for tumbler. I mean, it's a Yiddish for tumbler, which means people on stage like vaudevillians who took pratfalls fell on their face. Tumblers, dancers, jugglers.
I know.
I don't juggle. I don't do impressions. I don't sing. But I like doing funny songs. I like doing Love Power from the Mel Brooks movie, The Producers. The song that isn't with Dick Shawn that isn't in the remake I like to do that because Mel Brooks didn't know it, but he wrote the perfect Doors song, and so I sing it like Jim Morrison.
Well, let me
Stuff
tell you
like
something.
that.
Dick Shawn was a genius, and Mel Brooks knew just how to work him. Springtime for Hitler type thing. That was just good comedy. Mel Brooks is still with us, and that was one of my influences when I was a kid. Carl Reiner and Mel Brooks. Who influenced you first when you were a kid?
I always, when reporters from newspapers ask me that, I always say Alan Brady, and they print it without getting the joke that Alan Brady was the asshole comedian on the Dick Van Dyke Show. But the thing is there's a lot of guys, and Mel Brooks is one of them since your show of shows at Blazing Saddles, and I just saw him at 90 with Carl Reiner, who was like 91. They were on the Jerry Seinfeld web series, and they still got it, and he's just so funny, and the 2,000-year-old man, and I collect jokes, which I can't really tell on stage, but they work great for long road trips. But my funniest jokes are Jewish jokes. The funniest jokes are Jewish jokes, and he told one I hadn't heard, which I'll leave you with, but he is Moshe, and give me another good Jewish name, old Jewish name.
Moshe and Yusky.
Okay, that's a good one I haven't heard. Okay, because I'm a goy. Moshe and Yusky meet on... Wait, let me tell it's real quick. Moshe and Yusky meet on the street, and Moshe says, Yusky, I heard about the fire. And Yusky says, Thursday.
Very good. Two old Jews meet on the street. One Jew says, Oi, Hyman, I heard you had to bury the wife. What happened? She died. Okay. There you go.
Hey, I love these. How about there's an old Jewish couple on the... What?
She died.
Yeah, she died. There's an old Jewish couple is on the beach in Long Island, very old, and the wife says, Irving, I want a divorce. And Irving says, why now? And she said, I wanted to wait until the children were dead.
That's a very good one. Andrea Carla Michaels, I think that's her name. She's been a guest on Facebook. She didn't claim it as her joke. But she told it on Facebook, and it's funny as fuck. Waiter goes up to a group of Jewish people and says, is anything all right? Oh, that's good. I hope I remember that one because some of them are very subtle, but to me they're hilarious. I don't even know, I mean, I'm an honorary Jew because I'm in show business, but I mean, outside of that, I don't really know a lot about it, but for some reason, I get them all, and they're all funny. My favorite is... People think funny, it just changes the language, absolutely. You should tell these because you got the accent. I don't even try to do accents. But the thing is my favorite is the old Jewish grandmother, Bobby, is with her 5-year-old grandson, Izzy, at the beach. And a freak wave comes up, takes the boy away, and he drowns. And she gets on her knees, and she looks up, and she says, God, I'll go to temple. I won't kibitz on how my children raise their children. I'll be a good mother. Please bring Izzy back. And a wave comes and brings them back safe and sound. And the grandmother looks at Izzy and looks up and says, so where's his hat? Right, where's the mittens? Doug, you got a great sense that you think funny, which is all part of it. Do you write things down that are funny, or do you sit and think of things that are funny?
Well, I start putting stuff on tablets and on computers now, and I don't write jokes by hand as much as I used to, but I certainly use a running order when I'm on stage because there's so much shit I want to talk about. I can't remember it all. For some reason, when I...
No, I mean, when you're writing material, do you write material that just occurs to you and it's funny and you write it down, Or do you say, well, at 3 o'clock I'm going to sit down and write me some jokes?
Well, I have enough material now. I haven't been writing lately, but for years, I wrote both ways, both by stopping the TV, and that's why I love the DVR. You got to be able to pause and rewind TV, seeing stuff on TV. Much a walk down the street, tell a joke kind of person. I come from the media and everything. So rock and roll, movies, music, or whatever. But no, you know what? I was just talking to some friend about that. I don't write stuff down by hand much, but I wrote down that androgel thing, and then I just sort of made it up on stage because if it pisses me off, jokes will come to me. And then they have to be videotaped, and they have to be in running orders. And I try to remember a lot of stuff I haven't done for a while to do for this show. I've been doing homework, watching my own videos. Thank God for those YouTubes, Ralph, because I don't remember most of my old shit. I've forgotten more material.
You lived through times when you change your consciousness every now and again.
Yeah, this is the new set, the new me talking about, losing weight, trying to get my shit together and stuff, and nobody asked me to lose weight, but I sure feel better, and I look like myself now, so I can use my old pictures and save money. But
absolutely.
That's a good question because there's so much stuff I don't have enough notebooks to write it all down. There's so much stuff going on, so I file things away in a hidden place on Facebook, and then I go back and look for them and see if there are any funny jokes there.
Right.
The one old one I found that I'd forgotten about is I saw a bumper sticker that said, "My son passed the metal detector at Lincoln High School." That's my version of all the bumper sticker jokes.
Right. My version is my son sells pot to your honor student.
Yeah, my son can beat up your honor student. There's just weird things that you see. What I noticed about driving, and I've been in San Rafael, there's a lot of yuppies on the road who Marin invented the yuppies, but there's a lot of guys in Jaguars who won't climb off their horn. They're always honking at somebody. It's like a bus coming out of a bus stop, Shut up, road rage. And then I'm watching the news, and there's too many car ads too, right? And the Jaguar has a new motto, a new slogan, which is Jaguar, mark your territory. So basically, they found, isn't that perfect? It's like, hey, Jaguar driver, don't piss on my car.
Right. Well, GM with that big lawsuit, their new slogan is going to be, "What do we owe you?"
Well, they're not liable. They declared bankruptcy, so they're not liable. That's why Michael Moore's pissed off about that. Another thing in the news, it's like this week I'm trying to stay funny and think funny, which is why this has been so great. You always make me think funny. I wasn't funny or had this much energy 1 minute before I called you. I don't know where
we always get along. We always get along well on the air. There's no question about that. You got that something.
I've told you I got a chest cold, and I've been sick as a dog, and I'm not on any cold medicine or I'm not on anything, but I'm so sick that I'm loopy, so I've actually been in a good mood. You can be so fucked up that it's like being high.
Well, I just try to stick with the basic being high and not getting sick, but to each their own, and whatever works in the end. We don't have control of it, but we can do the best we can, which is all we can do. And Dougie boy, I'm going to end the segment because it's about time, and I'm going to end like I generally end a segment because I don't know if it will be the last segment of the episode. So if it is, here we go. I implore you and everybody out there to keep your dreams wet, keep your humor dry, keep your kids out of military recruiting stations. Bad. That's all I can say. For the whole family, for the kid will come back bad. There's bad stuff. It's an economic draft. We don't want your child to come back as fodder for rich people who don't send their children. So keep your kids out of that, and keep your children off the laps of clerics wearing dresses. I say this a lot, but there's no mass movement to stop them. It's not good for babysitting. Okay? Child care, no, bad. And I know it isn't every priest, and there are a lot of very holy, nice people coming between you and your Lord. Ain't designed that way. They should be taxed, and they should be put in jail for abusing our children, the ones that are guilty. However, if you bring your child and let them, are you still with me, Doug?
Yeah.
Oh, good, because I heard a click, and I've gotten that in my life before. But if you still insist on bringing your child, stay there, watch, supervise. Okay? And remember, if there's a suit, if there's a lawsuit, there is no way in the world, okay, that you shouldn't be held complicit. Your kid could grow up and sue you for taking them there and leaving them unsupervised. So, what have we learned today? We've learned Doug Ferrari is one funny guy, and he thinks funny, and he's great on the air. You're going to be back, right, Doug?
You bet. Thanks a lot for having me on, Ralphie boy.
All right, so I'm going to tell everybody and yourself, keep on keeping on, and over and out.
Okay, take care, man.